In late 2020, Peloton's share price hit a record high of $171. As I record this in February 2022, the price has plunged 78% to just over $37. As you may know, Peloton provides interactive fitness products. They've got the bike with the screen on it and the instructors, and you ride the bike and you get in shape and all that kind of good stuff. John Foley, the CEO and co-founder, recently got demoted up to executive chairman, and a new CEO, Barry McCarthy, has taken his place. And you might think, why did this plunge in Peloton's revenue occur? They were one of the darlings of the COVID era, right? Everyone was staying at the house, so you buy a Peloton bike so that you can hang your clothes on the bike later on, right? The bottom line was this: spending was outpacing revenue. And so they are slashing costs across the business, and part of that will come from an elimination of 20% of its corporate workforce. That's 2,800 jobs. Barry McCarthy, the incoming CEO, is a veteran of tech companies like Netflix and Spotify, and he's stepping into that CEO role at a time of crisis. Earlier this week, he sent out an internal memo to the entire organization, introducing himself, introducing his philosophy of business and his outlook. And through the power of the internet, I got hold of that memo. In this episode of Construction Genius, I'm going to read the memo and comment on it. And the purpose is to help us to see how an incoming CEO responds to a crisis. And as I'm reading the memo, I'm going to stop along the way and make comments. And I think you'll find that this is very useful for you as the CEO or the owner of your construction company, regardless of whether you're incoming or well-established, and even regardless of whether or not you are in a place of extreme crisis or things are going fairly well. So let's dive into the memo and let's go through the process. This is Eric Anderton, and you're listening to Construction Genius, a leadership masterclass. Thomas Edison said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. If you're a construction leader, you know all about the perspiration, and this show is all about the 1% inspiration that you can add to your hard work to help you to improve your leadership. Again, this is from Barry McCarthy, the incoming CEO. Team, I would like to begin this email with a shout out to my favorite Peloton instructors, Dennis Morton and Matt Wilpers, who don't know me from Adam, but whose Power Zone endurance rides first made me a Peloton advocate. And I want to thank John Foley and co-founders Hisu Kushi, Tom Cortese, Yoni Feng, and Graham Stanton, on whose shoulders we stand today, for this opportunity to help shape the future of connected fitness. Okay, so let's think about this first paragraph. Right off the bat, Barry, the incoming CEO, he gives a hat tip to the real key to the Peloton success, and that is the video instructors. I think it's really neat. There's a little touch of humility in what Barry is saying here, that Dennis and Matt, the instructors, don't know me from Adam. And of course, then he gives a nod to the past, the co-founders, John and the others. And he acknowledges that regardless of the current situation with Peloton, that the whole company is standing on the shoulders of those founders. So we've got the hat tip, we've got a touch of humility, we've got thanks to the past. Then he dives into the next paragraph. So we're going to go back to the memo now. In the last 20 years, I have had the opportunity to partner with two visionary founders, Reed Hastings of Netflix and Daniel Ek of Spotify. Now I'm partnering with John to create the same kind of magic. If you thought today's news meant John will be scaling back his involvement with Peloton, then let me assure you, I plan on leveraging every ounce of John's superpowers as product, content, and market visionary to help make Peloton a success as my partner. That's very interesting here because what he's doing is a couple of things. Number one, establishing his credibility as a new leader, having worked with Netflix and Spotify. And the second thing he's doing is he's pointing to one of the key issues from what we can gather at Peloton. And that is that the founder and former CEO, John Foley, was a visionary. And in the classic model of a visionary, he could come up with great content, great products, great marketing, and yet the execution was not quite there. And if you know anything about Barry McCarthy's background, he was the CFO of both Spotify and Netflix. And so he would be what is known in the business world as an implementer. And this is very key in a successful business, is that typically what you'll find is that one person is a visionary and another person is an implementer. And it's rare that you get one person who is both a visionary and an implementer. So for instance, you take someone like Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs is the classic visionary who comes up with these big ideas. You know, he comes up and he says, hey, listen, I want you to take 1,000 songs and stuff it onto one little piece of technology. Now go figure it out. Right? That's a visionary, but he's not an implementer. And the reason why Peloton has gotten into challenges and struggles, apparently, and experienced that massive stock dive is because the first CEO was that visionary and yet kind of sucked at implementing. And in fact, if you read the literature, and that's the nice thing about public companies, is that they are public. And so they succeed in public and they fail in public. If you read the literature, you'll find that John Foley is self-admitted at being not interested in the financials, not interested in sort of the blocking and tackling aspects of a business. Okay, back to the memo. I know today's restructuring news has been difficult. There's no sugarcoating it. It's a bitter pill, and in my experience, the sting has a long half-life. But the hard truth is either revenue had to grow faster or spending had to shrink. The math simply didn't work otherwise, and the status quo was unsustainable. One of my core management principles is about getting real. We have to be willing to confront the world as it is, not as we want it to be if we're going to be successful. We have to be honest with ourselves and with each other in order to make that happen, even when the truth is uncomfortable or inconvenient to deal with. Now, I think this is a tremendous paragraph right here because he's given the hat tip to the past. He's established his credibility and some of the things he's looking to do in terms of the execution. And now he just tells them the truth. We're in a bad situation. Change is going to be hard. And one of his core management principles, as he said, is getting real and confronting the world as it is, not as we want it to be. If you're going to be successful in your business, whether you're in a good place right now or a bad place, whether you're an incoming leader or an established leader, you have to confront the world as it is, and you have to be honest with yourself and with those around you, even when that is uncomfortable and inconvenient. All progress begins with telling the truth. All right, back to the memo. And now that the reset button has been pushed, the challenge ahead of us is this. Do we squander the opportunity in front of us, or do we engineer the great comeback story of the post-COVID era? This is a critical little paragraph here because he's started obviously with the past, with a touch of the present, and now he wants to propel the company into the future. And this is, again, fundamental as far as your leadership is concerned. Obviously, your present has been shaped by your past, but your future will be determined by the decisions that you make in the present, regardless of what might have happened in the past. And if you are in a tough situation in your business, one of your main jobs as a leader is to project confidence and optimism. Great leaders in history have been very, very successful at doing this because if you're going to succeed in your business, you know construction is a team sport and you must rally the people around you in order to move your business forward. Okay, back to the memo. I'm here for the comeback story. And here's why I think we can pull it off. the love of our members, and tons of it. Over the past 12 months in the US, our net promoter scores have hit 88 and 89 for the bike and tread, respectively, which is ridiculously great. And our subscriber churn numbers are the best I've ever seen, which means our customer lifetime value is truly exceptional. Okay, so he's going into some specifics about the business here. And that net promoter score is a score that people get from their customers that indicate the likelihood that they would recommend the company to somebody else. And 88 and 89 out of 100 are apparently really good scores. Okay, so he's really making the point here that the company is in control of some solid fundamentals. They have some solid fundamentals. In other words, they have a great product and they have subscribers to the product and to the services that have a low churn rate. And churn rate is one of those metrics that they have in technology companies that indicate how quickly people are leaving your company after having subscribed. So the basic bottom line is that he points to some of the strengths of the business. And that's really, really important as far as projecting the company forward. And so that's why it's so important for you as a leader, when you are sharing what's going on with your employees in the organization, that you're able to share some fundamental metrics that do indicate the strengths that the organization has, even if you are struggling in other areas. Okay, let's go back to the memo. Finding product market fit is incredibly hard to do. It's extremely rare. And I believe we have it. Remember those shoulders I said we were standing on? The challenge for us now is to figure out the rest of the business model so that we can win in the market and on Wall Street. Take care of the business, and the stock price will take care of itself. Don't do that, and you're roadkill. Okay, now, according to Barry here, Peloton has done something which is very difficult to do, and that is to find product market fit. In other words, they have a product, and they found a market that wants to buy that product. The way that I might put that is they have their niche. And in construction, that simply means right project, right location, right client. And so it's fundamental that even if you're struggling in your business, if you found a niche that you know works and that you can build profitably, if you execute, you need to really plant your flag on that niche and make sure that your people understand that's where you're at and that you have that. It's a real gold mine. But you see, what Barry does so well here is he's basically saying this. We have a great product. We have people who want to buy that product, but we suck at running the business. We suck at executing. And you know how that feels, right? You know that you can build a project well. You know that you have the right people in place, but somehow the processes aren't working or accountability isn't happening and you're not executing the business. And so you can have product market fit. You can have a killer niche, okay? You can have people who like to do business with you. But if you can't execute your projects profitably, then you're not going to be able to build and sustain long-term your business. And that's what he says here, right? Take care of the business and the stock price will take care of itself. Don't do that, and you're roadkill. And that's really, really important in your leadership, by the way, is to be able to state the truth simply and state the fundamentals of the business as simply as possible in order for people to be able to grasp them and bring those simple fundamentals into their daily execution. Okay, back to the memo. Winning, in my experience, starts with accountability. Me to you, you to me, and you to each other. We sink or we swim as a team. Today's restructuring reminds us that results matter. It's never been more important that we get real about what we can accomplish and accomplish what we commit ourselves to. It's about accountability and expectations management. Now, in my mind, this is the gold paragraph. And in the show notes, I'm going to put this memo up. I got it from the internet, so I'll put it in such a way so that you can take a look at it as well. But you'll notice here the emphasis that he makes. Winning starts with accountability, and that accountability expectation is first with himself, me to you. So he's not putting himself above accountability, but he's placing himself in accountability to the other people in the organization. Now, this is easy for a CEO to say. It's difficult for a CEO to do. So what might that look like for you? It might look like this. If you, as a group, commit to certain goals and certain metrics, and as a team, you fail to achieve those metrics, you as the leader raise your hand first and admit what it is that you've done that caused you to not achieve those metrics and those goals. You must be willing for accountability in addition to holding other people accountable. Now, you know that one of the main reasons you struggle in your business is because of that lack of accountability. And simple accountability will radically transform your business if you're willing to commit to that. And I really like what he says here. We must get real about what we can accomplish and accomplish what we commit ourselves to. And this is very important as well, because if you're in a very difficult situation in your business, you may understand that you have to make radical change to the organization. But you also have to understand that change is difficult and change takes time. And sometimes that change may be incremental in nature. And so you have to be able to identify those incremental changes that you want to make, set up accountability structures to achieve those incremental changes, and then execute on that accountability structure. Okay, back to the memo. I've tried to summarize what that means, that is, accountability and expectations management, in terms of my management style below. If you're wondering whether these reflect my Netflix and Spotify experience, they do. But I also think they transcend corporate cultures, or at least the ones that choose to embrace radical transparency, which I do. To be clear, many successful companies don't. Meaning, I think they are as applicable to Peloton as they were at Netflix and Spotify, but probably not at Apple or Snapchat, by way of example. That's not a knock on either of these great companies, by the way. It's simply an observation of corporate culture and reflects my preferred approach to building a high-performance culture. To the best of my ability, you'll find these values reflected in my day-to-day interaction with you, and I hope you will consider embracing some or all of them as you develop and refine your own management philosophy. In any event, you'll hear me talking more about these in the months and years to come. So here he is setting up a statement of his own personal business philosophy. And it revolves around building a high-performance culture that is based on radical transparency. And he acknowledges that this approach is not for everyone, but it is his approach. It is an approach that has worked with companies such as Netflix and Spotify, and it is the approach he's going to be using at Peloton. It's very important for you as a CEO to understand what your personal management and leadership philosophy is, and that you are clear on what that is, because what that will help you to do is attract the right types of people to your organization and repel the wrong ones. And it will also help you as a leader to be accountable yourself for your management style as you publicly share that management style with others. So then he goes on and he lists some of his values. There's 10 of them here, and so I'm going to read them. Number 1 is be stubborn on vision, flexible on details. And remember, this is all about building a high-performance culture. Number 2, fast is as slow as we go. What does that mean? Well, sometimes you want to move quickly, but you can't because people in your organization are moving at a different speed from you. It's like when you go hiking, right? You might go hiking with your kids, and your goal is to get to the top of the mountain, let's say, in 2 hours. But if your 7-year-old's coming along with you, you ain't getting there in less than 3. So it's very interesting that you look at your culture and you look at your organization and you understand the speed of the organization and understand that you have to adapt to the slowest member of your organization. That may mean, by the way, that you have to move people out of your company because they can't move at the speed that you want to move at. Okay, so back here. Number 3, intuition drives testing. Data drives decision-making. I really like this one right here. So, as you look at your business and you have a gut feel about what's going right and what's going wrong, well, what you have to do to confirm that gut feel is to test it. And you test it by making tweaks and adjustments, let's say, in your processes regarding how you build or how you bid projects. But then as the data comes in, that's what you use in order to make final decisions about how you're going to run your business. You're not just running your business on gut alone. You're using your gut to test, but you're using your data to decide. That's how high-performance cultures are built. Okay. Number 4 is pretty self-explanatory. Your comfort zone is your own worst enemy. So, in other words, you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Number 5, I like this one. Talent density is foundational. What does that mean? It means this. If you're going to be high performing, you have to bring into your company talented people. And the denser the amount of talent in your company, the more successful you're going to be. It's pretty self-explanatory. But you see, the thing is that a lot of us, we settle for mediocrity in our companies, sometimes with ourselves, but often with the people who report to us. We excuse that mediocrity, particularly in construction, based on the lack of talent that is available. And I agree that there is a talent lack in the construction industry in general. However, you must not settle for that and just say, oh, well, it is what it is. You must be committed on a long-term basis to aggressively upgrading the talent in your organization. And so you never settle. You never settle with where your talent level is right now, but you're always looking to upgrade that talent either by developing the people you already have or by sourcing people from the outside that can add to that talent density. Number 6, stress context, not control, freedom, and responsibility. Now, I'm not quite sure what this one means, but let me give you my interpretation of it. As a leader, you have to be able to paint a clear picture of the problem. That is the context. But then you have to trust your talented people with the control, freedom, and responsibility to solve that problem. And this is what great leaders do. They know what the problem is. They're able to frame the problem clearly, but they require the people who report to them to solve the problem. They're not stuck in the weeds solving the problems. They want their people to come to them with their ideas for solving the problems and then execute on those ideas. Okay. Number 7, understand in order to be understood. I like that very much. What does that mean for you as a leader? I would encourage you to do this. Do your best to listen more than you speak, especially in meetings with your executive team. And in order to listen more than you speak, you must get good at doing 2 things. The first one is asking great questions. And then the second one is controlling yourself and not jumping in with your opinions until your people have been able to fully share their opinions and perspectives. Number 8, get real. We've been talking about that all throughout the episode today. Number 9, think from first principles. Let me give you an example in construction. First principle that I've learned over the years working with my clients is this: bid right, plan right, build right. Right? Those are first principles. I want to bid accurately. I want to plan as completely as possible, and I want to build safely and productively. Those are first principles, and you want to think from those first principles all the time. And then finally, number 10, put first things first. And this is a key skill for every leader, but particularly for the leaders of the organization, is to be able to identify the priorities that are most important and then task your people with executing on those priorities. Okay, this is pretty awesome, right? We're right near the end here. In the months ahead, we're back at the memo now. In the months ahead, you can expect to hear from me about our strategy and the choices we're planning to make to drive our success. For the avoidance of doubt, we're in the business of driving growth. And that will require us to take risks, to be willing to fail quickly, to learn quickly, to adapt and evolve quickly, rinse and repeat. I promise the journey won't be dull. I look forward to working with you. Barry. So here we are, the last paragraph. He paints a clear picture of the months ahead. You see that he is going to roll out a strategy for folks, the choices that we're going to be making. And he is very clear on this. Risks are going to be taken. Failures are going to happen. Learning is going to be quick. Adapting and evolving is going to be happening as well. And that is a continual process. And this is, once again, vital that your people understand this. If you're going to build a high-performance culture, if you're going to come out of the depths of failure, if you are going to build on the successes that you've already achieved, you must be willing to try new ideas, fail quickly, learn lessons, rinse and repeat, go through that cycle of trying, learning, failing, adapting, all those kinds of great things. This is how you build a high-performance culture. Okay, so let me give you some simple takeaways here. Number one, tell the truth about your business. Number two, keep it as simple as you can so people can understand things. So for instance, here at the Peloton memo, grow revenue, cut costs. Nice and simple. Number three, promote accountability. Number four, be open about your values and your expectations. In the show notes, again, I'll put together a little link so that you can take a look at this memo and read through it. I think you'll find it very useful. I'm also going to link to a website that I found that has a number of different memos from companies that are very important, I think, to read to gain some insights into how people are thinking. So I'll put that link in the show notes. My name is Eric Anderton. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Construction Genius. Feel free to share it with other people. And by the way, if you like this type of episode where I'm reading from a memo, a business-related memo of some kind, and then commenting on it, if you like this type of episode, can you let me know? Because then I can do more of these, because I find it fun to be able to read what other people are learning and what they're doing, and then share it with you guys on the podcast. Again, thanks for listening to Construction Genius. I super value your listening, and feel free to share this with other people, and have a terrific day. Today's episode was brought to you by the Construction Conclave. If you as a construction leader would like to develop your skills and get involved in a community of like-minded construction professionals who are focused on building healthy teams, profitable projects, and long-term successful businesses, then the Construction Conclave is for you. It's a private, invitation-only group of construction leaders that are focused on developing their leadership skills. We do training every single month online that looks at how to become a better leader in a very practical, straightforward way. We also have other events that build community and camaraderie so that you can associate with others who are interested in developing their skills as leaders. If you'd like more information and to see if you qualify for participating in the conclave, feel free to reach out to me, eric@ericanderton.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of Construction Genius. Hope you found that 1% of inspiration to help you in the next few days. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, share it with other construction leaders who you think would benefit, and thanks again for listening.